there is basically just one thing that the Supreme Court needs to decide. Ultimately, what the Supreme Court decides now will be whether that floor test takes place as ordered by the governor. Whether the governor is allowed to, order this floor test, whether the speaker can be interdicted, which is the word that Abhishek Manu Singhvi has used, in what form that floor test will happen, whether it will be delayed. All of those updates are happening, and if you look on the top of our screen right now, everything that's happening inside court, you're seeing it first here on India Today. So keep your eyes focused, viewer, on this band right above my head, because that's where all the breaking live updates are coming in. I want to bring Mausami Singh, who's gotten all the big leaders from Mumbai live and first here on India Today. She has the Shiv Sena's Arvind Savant with her. Mausami, over to you. Shiv Sena, bated breath, tenterhooks. This could very much be the final day of the Maha Aghadi Sarkar. What's the mood in the Sena right now?
Absolutely, Shiv. We are where all the news is and getting you all the latest updates. Arvind Savant is no ordinary man. He is the trusted lieutenant of Uddhav Thackeray. In fact, he just left Matoshri a short while ago, and he's also taking care of the entire legal issue of the Shiv Sena, being trusted lieutenant of Uddhav Thackeray. Arvind, sir, already Abhishek Manu Singhvi is making this argument that the governor's intervention is making the entire process redundant, the court proceedings redundant, and the deputy speaker's proceedings redundant. How do you respond?
I think exactly what is happening is producing in front of the court. How can you keep the proceedings of the court as a redundant, treat the proceedings of the Honorable Supreme Court as a redundant one, because the Honorable Supreme Court has already granted some period to those who are, the members for whom we have served the petition to disqualify them. Now, in that case, the Honorable Supreme Court has given a time up to 12th of July to submit their submission or their reply to our notice. During that period only, hurriedly, the Honorable Governor, just because the opposition leader has approached you, he has given some letter, and according to on that letter you are asking, within 24 hours you are asking to conduct a session and go for a floor test, as if you have decided it. As if you have decided it. Now, the way the news is, we are approaching the news, the victory is showing signs. It seems as if everything has been already presumed and already been decided, and accordingly the movements are being taken place.
Guwahati to Goa, he says he's got more than 2/3 of majority and doesn't fear the floor test. Does the Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi and the Uddhav Sena fear the floor test?
It's not a fear, not at all any fear. We care a hoot about the power and all. We never ever. Shiv Sena is born with the principle of 80% service, seva, okay, and the 20% politics. Now, in that case, the politics to be played during the elections only. Policy is to say like this, and then serve the people. That is what he used to say like that. So we care a hoot about the power. It's not a question of, now it is a question of political as well as a legal battle. And if you keep mum on a legal battle, then everybody will say but these people must be on a wrong foot. That is why they are keeping mum. So we are fighting for the principles. We are fighting with the principle. We are fighting for to uphold the constitution of the India. That's why.
Shiv, you heard Mr. Arvind Savant.
Yeah.
He is with us throughout this the proceedings as they happen. Getting you first up the reaction from Shiv Sena from Mumbai.
I'm going to keep coming back to you because there are going to be lots of reactions we'll need directly from the Shiv Sena. Mausami, continue to stay with me. Going straight back to the Supreme Court where Nalini is standing by. Nalini, very, very interesting and important live updates that you and our team are bringing to us. The Supreme Court Justice saying, as far as disqualification issue is concerned, the matter is sub judice before us. We will decide it one way or another. How does the floor test depend on qualification or disqualification issue or the powers of the speaker? How are they interrelated or interchangeable? Because this is the precise point that Abhishek Manu Singhvi, standing a counsel for Uddhav Thackeray's government, is arguing that, how can you pass an order when the issue of disqualification is still before the Supreme Court? But the Supreme Court saying, how are the two things interrelated? We'll decide that separately.
Well, yes, Shivan, this is an issue that we've seen happen multiple times over the course since this entire political crisis in Maharashtra has begun, because of the fact that there are so many parallel proceedings that are happening before different authorities. There is bound to be not only overlap, but questions like this, questions like the ones you're reading out being raised by the Supreme Court as to whether or not one proceeding will impact the other proceeding. Another very important aspect that we should point out over here is that the proceedings before the Assembly are also constitutionally recognized proceedings. They are laid down, the entire procedure is laid down before the Constitution. So the Supreme Court or any court of law for that matter tries not to intervene in other constitutional proceedings to a very great extent until and unless the issue is regarding a final decision that has been taken either by the Deputy Speaker or what happens in a floor test. So for the Supreme Court to intervene in the interim in this entire case is something that is going to be very difficult for the court to do. But considering that they already did that in the last hearing, when they put on hold the disqualification proceedings, they will have to come forth with some sort of interim order on the issue of the floor test as well. Even the last time around, if you remember, Abhishek Manu Singhvi had raised this very same point where he had pushed for a stay to be granted on the floor test. But on the Monday hearing, the Supreme Court had said that they don't want to cause any confusion, which is precisely why they refused to pass any orders regarding the floor test. But the fast-paced developments that have happened after that and the order that we've seen come in from the governor, where he specifically called for an emergency session of the Assembly and for the floor test to be conducted tomorrow, has led the Uddhav Thackeray faction to rush to the Supreme Court demanding some sort of relief because, well, quite simply put, the numbers are not in their favor right now. So this is literally their last resort, knocking on the doors of the Supreme Court, trying to get favorable orders, which gives them at least a little bit more time to convince either some of the MLAs to come back on their side or figure out a different strategy on how they are going to play this out. So today's hearing is extremely crucial for Uddhav Thackeray and all of the MLAs and other Shiv Sena leaders that are supporting him in this entire battle that he has now taken head on with Eknath Shinde. But along with that, the Supreme Court is also tied up in a knot because, like I said, there are parallel proceedings regarding disqualification, regarding the floor test, and the Supreme Court will have to streamline all of this and decide how the next step needs to be taken regarding this entire crisis so that the people and the citizens in Maharashtra, most importantly, do not suffer as an outcome of this.